I'm here with the StellaVita, which is from Touptek. That was formerly called the Astro Station. Now, they can't use the name Astro Station anymore. They have to use something else basically, so they picked StellaVita. And StellaVita means star life in Latin, which I kind of like that. You know, I'm a Latin fan. I wish I could speak that language. Okay, so I'm just out here kind of having fun because it's overcast outside. But, alright, so I've got the mount and everything hooked up to the StellaVita right now. And let's see, let's go ahead and move this guy a little bit. Now, I want you to notice something here. This is a feature that ASIAIR users have been asking about for 3 years. And before I actually was going to talk about this in the video, I went onto the forums quick and I was like, hey guys, can we set a custom park position yet in the ASIAIR? Just to make sure that it's something that ZW hadn't added in before I said something about it. Well, it's funny because the reactions that I got were, wow, okay, they were out there. Like, a lot of people were like really pissed about this particular topic. They've been asking, like, basically they came down to, we've been asking for this feature for 3 years. Why can't they implement it? It's so simple. So yeah, this is something that the StellaVita has out of the box that the ZW ASIAIR does not. So we've just moved the scope, and what I'm going to do is go back to my telescope mount. All right, I'm scroll down here, and I'm going to hit go to home, and look, it's going to go to a custom park position that I set up earlier using this button over here. So yeah, this is awesome. Okay, now this works with basically every mount except for the AM5. It's the only one that won't work with it for some reason right now. The AM5 and the AM5N. They are working, I've been emailing them back and forth. They are working on fixing this with the AM5. We'll see, okay? But yeah, with all your other mounts from other brands and so forth, the custom park mode position is there. So those of you who have roll-off roof observatories, you need to put your scope into some really weird contorted way in order to get the roof back on the building. Guess what? This guy might be something you want to kind of check out. And maybe this will actually pressure ZWO into finally implementing something like this. Like I said earlier, or I've said in other videos, you know, everybody needs a little bit of competition. I just want to kind of like praise the interface for a second here. And this is such good design, okay? This is really good design. Other astrophotography software guys, please take note, okay? This is how it should be done. So, like, I'm actually in settings right now, but look at this. You've got all these buttons. They're in this kind of arc-like, which is very easy to reach with your thumb. And then all the different options and so forth that it brings up on the opposite side of the screen, as you scroll up and down, all of those buttons are also within reach of your thumb on the opposite side. That's good design, guys. Okay, yeah, these guys are on the right track. So yeah, well, let's go into like a couple of other things here. And oh yeah, by the way, there is a nice sky map now and everything. You can add things to your capture log. This here is a plan that I was kind of playing with. So you can build plans now in this. There is, like, here in the camera mode option, actually I don't have a camera hooked up. Let's do it right now. So this is a 294mm Pro mono. So I'm going to turn that on. You can see here's all my different options and so forth. And then we'll go back here. When you double tap on the camera icon, you'll see you'll get 3 different options: single, video, and plan mode. And then yeah, there's just, it is called coming together. There's a bunch of buttons on the opposite side here, like actually take an exposure. This one right here is your bin level, and then your crosshair. You can set your temperature very quickly over here, exposure length, and then gain, of course, you can quickly adjust. You can cancel the exposure just like so. And then over here, this is our plan basically. And I'm sorry I'm not like actually videoing my screen. This is an Android device. I have no idea how to do video capture my screen. So we're just kind of doing it this way. And yeah, you can custom name your own targets and so forth, and you know, tell you want to set it, you want to start guiding, what sequence you want to go through, all these different steps and so forth. Maybe you want to skip refocusing for a particular target that you switch to. I don't know. And then of course, you know, I really like the interface with, you know, there aren't these floating windows everywhere. Everything's kind of constrained and proportioned around the center. And then all your controls are on both sides, like I was ranting about earlier. You know, right, nice and easy reach. And then, of course, you've got guiding, and your histogram can be displayed down here in the bottom. And then, of course, down here is your actual pictures for the folders full of photos and so forth. EFC, that would be the focuser, which I've turned off right now because I just haven't connected it. And then what else is there in here? Yeah, it's got all the normal settings and so forth. It's coming along. It's coming along. Under our settings, you have the top here. Right now, you have 3 different options here. You can set camera, focuser, mount. You can't select do heater yet. That's something they haven't added, and that was actually something that I think ZWO took about 3 years to implement in the ASIAIR as well. Like, we didn't get it right away. It was about 3 years after its initial introduction that we finally got the ability to regulate the amount of power that goes to it. I know what I do right now is actually with these guys here. This is actually even with this air that's connected up here. I have like little regulators that are in between the line of the ASIAIR and the actual dew heaters themselves. And what that does is allows me to kind of like control it. That's something I've been doing since the old days before it was an option within the firmware of the ZWO ASIAIR to do it. So it looks like I will have to do it for a little while, at least with this. Now something else I kind of wanted to point out that I really liked was, let's say when I'm selecting a mount here, and I got to turn off this mount. Right here, there's a list. You'll notice that there's actually 2 up here. These are my connectable devices or favored devices. In other words, the devices that I've already connected before. And then once you scroll down, there's a big long list. But once you use one, it will be added to this top list, which is really nice because I don't have to scroll all the way through when I'm swapping this guy from one mount to the next, because I have been kind of doing this quite a bit, you know, testing different pieces of equipment that I have to kind of see how it works with this guy. So the last little thing here, and this is kind of a wish list thing, which this is not something that is currently in the software for either the ASIAIR or Touptek's StellaVita. And that's kind of the ability to do true piggyback astrophotography. I've done this a lot on my channel where I essentially have another camera attached to the scope and I do basically piggyback astrophotography, which is where another camera is just taking pictures and just kind of riding along. Since version 1 of the ASIAIR, we've had this little port on the side here. It's a 2.5mm jack, and it's pretty universally used as an intervalometer port. Although with the ASIAIR, this port has always been dead and defunct. It doesn't produce any signal during the imaging sequence. And I know there are some cameras that are listed in the manuals for this thing that say that they need this, but when you unplug it and just run with USB, the cameras continue to function just fine. So, but here's what I'm asking for, is I would love to have this port be a piggyback camera that could be set up in settings in the software, and then essentially it would plug in, and then I'll have to stretch it up here to the camera. And in addition to this guy here taking pictures, it would also sync the dithering, the guiding, and so forth to this guy and would snap away photos, and I could program it from here to, you know, essentially do piggyback astrophotography, you know, to be a second camera that's taking images, so to speak. But by the way, this solution would open up a whole ton of cameras for which, you know, that are rather old, perhaps, that, you know, could then work with this thing, and it would be one simple little solution. Now, for those of you who own an Orion camera, you're probably wondering, okay, the company just recently closed and everything got liquidated and so forth. What are we going to do for driver support and software? Don't worry, Touptek has you covered, because the StellaVita is going to operate with this thing. As a matter of fact, it runs this thing flawlessly. When you actually even plug this thing in, it actually shows up as a Touptek camera, and that is because all of the cameras that are in the blue housings from Orion were actually manufactured by Touptek, and they were just simply had Orion's name lasered in the side of them, and that was about it. So yeah, Touptek has you covered if you're an Orion person and you have one of their cameras. What do I think of this thing so far, like in using it and so forth, and like, you know, is it going to challenge the ASIAIR? Now, the ASIAIR, when it first came out, people thought it was a joke. A lot of people on the forums, you know, the keyboard warriors, made fun of it and said that it didn't have enough features and it was just lacking in so many areas and it couldn't be taken seriously by anyone. Now, here we are, I think almost 6 years later, and that is not the case anymore. No one would ever say that about the ASIAIR. It has become a very well-rounded, fully featured item. I mean, it lacks a few little things like custom park modes and maybe a few other knickknacks here and there we can name, but you know, beside the point. Driver support, one of them for other cameras. But I mean, this thing, you know, it can just about do everything except for maybe control the dome in your observatory. So yeah, the ASIAIR, it's come a long ways. The Touptek, kind of where is it today? Well, this thing is actually, it's not where the ASIAIR was when the ASIAIR first came out. I would say that the Touptek kind of feels like a product that's about where the ASIAIR was, maybe about 3 years into the ASIAIR's development. And it has some things in it that the ASIAIR lacks, okay? So this Touptek Starlife product, I think it's pretty exciting. It's got an SD card slot, I really like that. And yeah, I think that it will, it's definitely gonna find a place in my inventory of stuff, especially so that I can use this camera now, because I've had this thing for a while. I just have only been able to use it with a laptop, and I hate doing that, because you have to be out here in the cold with it. All right.